The night the child was born, the river rose higher than it had in many years. Old women woke from sleep. Fishermen abandoned their nets. Even the frogs stopped croaking. And in the small hut at the edge of the village, a woman screamed through the pains of childbirth, while rain battered the earth, like angry spirits demanding entrance. That woman was a Daku. For 12 years after marriage, a Daku had remained barren. 12 painful years of mockery. 12 years of hearing whispers each time she walked past market women. Tufi Aqua. A woman without a child is like a tree without fruit. What is the use of beauty if her womb is empty? At first, her husband, Obina, defended her. He loved her deeply. Whenever she cried at night, he held her in his arms and promised her that one day the gods would remember them. But as years passed, pressure began to grow. His mother demanded another wife. His kinsmen mocked him secretly. Men who married, long after him, already had children, old enough to run around the village square. Slowly, the laughter disappeared from their home. Adaku noticed it first in the silence. Obina no longer spoke of the future, no longer smiled as much. Sometimes she caught him staring at children playing outside with eyes, heavy with sadness. It broke her heart. She tried everything. She visited herbalists from neighboring villages. She swallowed bitter roots. She tied charms around her waist. She prayed at shrines. She fasted 4 days. Nothing happened. Month after month, year after year, nothing. Until one evening, an old wandering woman entered the village. The woman was strange. Her hair was white like moonlight, yet her back stood straight and strong. She wore blue beads around her neck and walked barefoot despite the hot earth. She stopped in front of Adaku's compound. "I seek water," the old woman said. Adaku quickly brought her water and food, treating her with kindness even though sorrow weighed heavily on her spirit. The old woman studied her carefully. "You carry sadness like a shadow," she murmured. Adaku lowered her eyes. "My womb is closed." The old woman nodded slowly, as though she already knew. Then she leaned closer. "There is a river beyond the forbidden forest. The river goddess still listens there." Adaku's heartbeat quickened. Everyone knew of that river. Mothers frightened children with stories about it. They said spirits lived beneath its waters. They said no one returned the same after visiting it. Some never returned at all. "The river goddess grants gifts," the old woman whispered. "But every gift from the spirits has a price." Before Adaku could ask another question, the woman stood and walked away. By morning, she was gone. No footprints, no trace, as though she had never existed. For days, Adaku battled with her thoughts. Fear warned her to stay away. But desperation is a dangerous thing. One night, while Obina slept, Adaku quietly rose from bed. The moon hung pale in the sky as she wrapped a cloth around herself and entered the forbidden forest alone. The deeper she walked, the stranger the forest became. The air grew cold. Trees twisted like watching figures. She heard whispers in the darkness, though no one was there. Then she heard water. The river. It shimmered beneath the moonlight unnaturally, glowing silver like liquid stars. Mist floated across its surface. Adaku's legs trembled. Suddenly, the water began to move. Not with wind, but as though something enormous stirred beneath it. A beautiful woman slowly emerged from the river. Her skin glistened like wet marble. Long dark hair flowed down her waist. Her eyes were not human. They glowed faintly blue. Adaku fell to her knees immediately. "Great goddess," she whispered shakily. The spirit smiled. "You seek a child." It was not a question. Tears filled Adaku's eyes instantly. "Yes, please." The river goddess walked closer. "I can open your womb." Adaku's breathing stopped. But every gift from the river must return to the river. Fear crawled into her chest. What does that mean? The goddess touched Adaku's stomach gently. "The child will live." A pause. "But you will not." Silence swallowed the forest. Even the insects stopped singing. Adaku felt cold all over. Her mind screamed for her to run. But then she remembered the mockery, the shame, the emptiness, the years of crying herself to sleep. And slowly, she began to cry. "If I die, my husband will finally have a child. Yes, he will never be childless again. Yes." Adaku closed her eyes. A mother's love was already growing inside her, even before the child existed. When she opened her eyes again, tears rolled freely down her cheeks. "I accept." The river goddess smiled sadly. Then she pressed her wet palm against Adaku's stomach. Immediately, the river exploded violently. Wind roared through the trees. The water turned black for a brief moment. Voices screamed beneath the surface. Adaku cried out as a burning sensation tore through her body. And then, everything became silent. The goddess stepped backward into the river. "Protect the child," she said softly. Then she disappeared beneath the water. Adaku returned home before dawn, and 3 moons later, she became pregnant. The village erupted with joy. Women danced. Drums echoed through the night. Obina wept openly for the first time in years. At last, the gods had answered them, but Adaku knew the truth. And sometimes, when nobody was watching, fear would cloud her face as she touched her growing stomach, because deep down, she knew her time was running out. As Adaku's stomach grew, so did the strange signs around the village. At first, people called them blessings. The year's harvest became the richest the villagers had seen in decades. Goats gave birth to twins. Palm wine flowed sweeter than usual. Even the dry lands near the hills suddenly became fertile again. The elders praised the gods openly. "This child carries favor," they said. But not everyone celebrated peacefully. Some villagers whispered behind closed doors. "After 12 barren years, something is not right. No ordinary child comes with signs like these." And then the dreams began. Adaku started waking in the middle of the night drenched in sweat. She would dream of the river. Sometimes she saw a woman standing waist deep in the water, staring silently at her. Other times, she heard a child crying beneath the river surface. One particular night, the dream felt surreal. In the dream, the river goddess appeared again. Her glowing eyes looked troubled. "Remember your promise." Adaku's voice trembled. "I have not forgotten. The child must never be rejected." Before Adaku could speak again, dark water suddenly began rising around her feet. The goddess vanished. Then countless hands emerged from beneath the river, grabbing Adaku's legs and dragging her downward. Adaku woke screaming. Obina held her tightly while she trembled violently. "It was only a dream," he whispered. But Adaku knew it was not. Deep inside her spirit, something terrible was approaching. Months later, the day of childbirth finally came. Dark clouds covered the village from morning till evening. Thunder shook the skies violently. The wind howled through rooftops like angry spirits. Women gathered inside the hut as Adaku screamed in pain. Outside, Obina paced nervously in the rain. Hours passed. Then suddenly, the baby cried. A loud, powerful cry. At that exact moment, lightning struck the giant Iroko tree in the village square, splitting it in half. The villagers gasped in terror. Inside the hut, the old midwife slowly stepped outside carrying a baby girl wrapped in white cloth. "She is beautiful," one woman whispered. The child's eyes were strangely bright, almost glowing. Obina rushed forward anxiously. And Adaku, the midwife's face fell. Silence. Obina's heart dropped immediately. "No!" Inside the hut, Adaku lay motionless, dead. Rainwater dripped softly from the roof as grief swallowed the compound. Obina collapsed beside her body, crying uncontrollably. The joy of finally becoming a father mixed cruelly with unbearable sorrow. That night, nobody slept in the village. The storm raged until dawn, and somewhere deep inside the forbidden forest, a woman's laughter echoed faintly beside the river. Adaku was buried 3 days later. Before her death, she had chosen a name for her daughter, Amara, meaning grace. Obinna loved the child deeply despite his grief. Whenever he looked at her, he saw Adaku, the shape of her eyes, her smile, even the way she slept peacefully. For a while, father and daughter healed each other. But grief changes people. As years passed, loneliness slowly consumed Obinna. Villagers began pressuring him again. A child needs a mother. A man cannot raise a daughter alone. You are still young. At first, he refused. But eventually, he remarried. The new wife's name was Jadika.